So many people have been calling for the big names on Daystar. Come out. Announce that you are leaving this platform with all that has gone on. Now, I have said that even if they start doing that, you may not get the exact response or statement that you are looking for. I always say this, birds of a feather, right? Birds of a feather. What would the statements even look like? These are all prosperity gospel preachers that are on Daystar. They teach a false gospel. Are we ever going to hear them repent for the false teaching? No, never. Never. So now we have one of those big names who has come out and announced that he is leaving Daystar. But if you were expecting some kind of a big rebuke here to Joni Lamb, to Doug Weiss, to Daystar's board, Tom Callender, Arnold Torres, and all of them, you're going to be very disappointed because that's not what it was. This was an opportunity for a man that is known all over the world to come out with a strong biblical rebuke of a corrupt organization that has allegedly been covering up mistreatment of a little, not to mention the alleged financial issues going on at that network. But why would they? I mean, especially when it comes to the finances. Why would they even dive into something like that? Why would they want to talk about a marriage in Joni and Doug Weiss, where Jonathan has been screaming this since this whole thing broke out about how it is unbiblical, about how it is adulterous? Why would they come out and do that? So while I have seen some are saying that this departure is a good thing. See, finally, we got a big name here. But you're not looking at what he said. Jesse Duplantis. I know a lot of people love him. I've met the man personally. I've had lunch with the man. Happened back around 2011, 2012. He came to my church at the time. And since Jesse has come out with this announcement, and we'll talk about it, I will also tell you about my own personal experience with Jesse Duplantis and how that all went down. But that's not all. No. You see, we're also going to get into one of Daystar Canada's board members who decided to come out with a statement, and his name is Dr. Phil. Hey, that's right, we have another Dr. Phil out there, Dr. Phil Nordine. He put out a statement, which, by the way, this was not him putting out a video. This was him just putting out a statement, then using an AI voice to put that all together in a video to have it read out. Couldn't even come on the camera and do his own video. He had to do it behind AI. And I got so many things to say about that, and we'll touch on that as well. So I hope you strap in, get comfortable, get a snack, get some coffee. I don't know, whatever it is that you want to snack on or have a drink of something when you're watching me. Please do that. We like to encourage snacks here at Not By Sight News, and coffee. I'm a big coffee drinker. And if you guys are coffee drinkers too, you can let me know in the comment section. We deal with some heavy issues here as we are covering these stories, and I try to inject a little bit of humor. Try my best to, keep it light where I can, even though, again, we are dealing with very heavy issues here, but I try to, bring you guys a little laugh here and there when I can. But we're going to get into this. Before we do, I want to welcome all of you to Not By Sight News. Yes, a blind Christian guy here reporting to you, reminding you as always that we walk by faith, not by sight. For someone like me, that's kind of my only option. If you guys could do me a huge favor, hit the like button for me, share this video around. When you do that, you help get these videos out there more in the algorithm, in the recommended section. It gets more eyes on our content and does us a huge service. So thank you so much for that, and I hope you are all having an amazing day. Let's get into it. Jesse Duplantis, no longer a part of Daystar, but probably not in the way that you would have expected him to or wanted him to. But again, when you are dealing with these types of individuals, birds of a feather, the word coward comes to mind. Especially when Jesse Duplantis gave his reasoning for why he is now off of Daystar. Before I even go into that, because I said that I have my own personal experience with Jesse Duplantis, and I want to share that with you. And I've talked about this before on previous videos, but we have a lot of newer people that are here now that probably never heard me talk about this, so I'm going to bring it up. My earliest memories of Jesse Duplantis, because I grew up in the charismatic Word of Faith churches, was Jesse's testimony about going to heaven. Some of you may remember him from that as well. Jesse was this funny guy, and he came from, a background where he was involved in all these things that he shouldn't have been, and radically transformed by the Lord and all of that. So I heard, and this is, back in the day when there were still cassette tapes. Yeah, anybody remember cassette tapes out there? I mean, I'm not that old, but I had a Walkman. You guys remember Walkmans too? Discmans when the CDs started to come out. Yeah, I'm from that era. I'm a 90s dude. Like I grew up, I was born in the 80s, but really grew up in the 90s. But so cassette tapes, yeah, I remember these. So the Jesse Duplantis tapes, we always had them at the church and all that I grew up in. So I heard his heaven testimony and all of these things. And whether you want to believe it or not, I'll leave that up to you guys, okay? But let me point out a few other things that he has even said in just recent years. And how this man, I believe, has just gone so far off the rails, it's not even funny. But he gave a sermon where he was talking about, and this one really got me, where he said the reason that, and they're out there, the clips are out there, the reason that Jesus hasn't come back yet is because not enough people have given to Jesse's ministry. As if this guy somehow didn't have enough money, right? He needs even more. You guys didn't know that. The whole reason that the Lord hasn't come back, right? You're waiting to be caught up with the Lord, along with, in seeing the reunions with your family members and those that have gone on. But I'm sorry, guys. The reason he hasn't come back yet, you guys have not given enough to his ministry. He said this in a sermon. He also talked about this is, I guess, again, another time when he was in heaven. He saw the Lord's face, and the Lord Jesus was crying. And the Lord told Jesse that if you don't want to see me cry anymore, then the people need to continue to give unto you in your ministry. The man tried to use Jesus crying, and in heaven, mind you. Okay? He's shedding tears in heaven. Because all you people out there, how dare you selfish people, not give enough to Jesse. I've said this before, I don't have a problem with anybody who would like to give unto a ministry. Okay? I ask people if they want to donate to me. But what I do have a problem with is when you attach the prosperity gospel to it, and then you manipulate people with these sorts of things, with these sorts of statements. And my gosh, I have heard some low things before from some of these preachers. To try and guilt people. Even telling them, you better give that last of your rent money. God, you trust God if you have enough faith. He's going to double, he's going to triple, he's going to do all these things. But when you start saying that, you're going to make Jesus cry. He said, Jesus can't stop crying. Let's get him the box of tissues, for crying out loud. This is such evil manipulation. Evil. Let me get to my own personal experience. First of all, I've gone to the Kenneth Copeland conventions. So I have seen Jesse Duplantis speak at the big events, the big conferences, and I've also encountered him even at my smaller church. This was again back around 2011, 2012. Might actually have even been 2010, 2011. It was in that time period. And you have to understand, I was still very much spiritually blind. Now, I can remember all of the hype for us bringing in Jesse to the church. He was friends with our pastor at the time, who was not one of the big names, but he knew a lot of these guys, and they were motorcycle buddies and things like that. They all liked to get on their bikes together and whatnot. So the pastor arranged to bring Jesse Duplantis in. Now you got to understand, what they had done was they had gotten this like curtain, and they had basically they tried to block off the main hall that would go down to the pastor's office, because they didn't want anybody to have to see Jesse. I mean, he's way too much of a celebrity to be around us common folks, right? So they had this curtain up there so people, wouldn't be, because normally people would walk down this hall in between services and whatnot. So they had a big curtain there, and it even went around to the very back of the church as well, because I guess this is where Jesse was going to make his entrance. Now, in advance, the pastor, because you have to understand at this time, I had not gone fully blind. I was going through glaucoma. I was diagnosed with glaucoma. That's part of my story. If you ever want to hear my full story on going blind, you can watch the video that I made. I provide a link to it in the description section of all my videos, so it's there for you. But we had arranged to have Jesse Duplantis pray for me. This was not a prayer that was going to be in front of the church. We actually had this set up to actually go to the pastor's office and have him pray for me. Now, my family was connected with this church at the time, which is why they were able to arrange this. So I can remember, and at this particular point, 2010, 2011, I had gone completely blind in my left eye from glaucoma, and I only had about 20 to 25% vision left in my right eye. So you can imagine that I had all this hope, right? The big preacher, the big televangelist, Jesse Duplantis, is in our church. The place is packed. I'm being led, guys. Like they're taking me through the curtain. I felt like I was on my way to meet the celebrity, right? The celebrity preacher, Jesse Duplantis. Like they're okay, come on. Like they almost had to like sneak me in. It was the weirdest thing. Looking back on it now, I never would have participated in something like this. And remember, I didn't have my spiritual sight back then. I had a little bit of physical sight left. So the goal here in this arrangement with Jesse was to have him pray over me and that my sight was going to be restored. So they led me into the office. There's Jesse in there. He's getting his jacket and everything. And I meet him, shake his hand. Now, I want to say I even went and had lunch with the guy because as part of this service, you would always have to go out with the pastors afterwards. And my family was connected at the time. So we went out and had Italian food. I even have a picture with the guy. So there in the office, shake the guy's hand, and he says to me, and I'm going to try to do my best Jesse Duplantis impression. May not be as good as my Tom Callender, but he said to me, so I hear you got a little bit of a problem. I said, yeah, I'm losing my sight, Jesse. Big problem. Not a little problem. And he's, all right, we're going to lay hands on you and the Lord is going to do a work. The Lord is going to do a work in you, young man, and he's going to take care of that. And so he laid hands over my eyes and he prayed. So you're expecting, right? The big pastor laying hands on you. You're going to be, I'm going to be seeing again. 20/20 vision, both eyes, right? So he prayed over me. And he asked me, can you see anything yet? And I said, no, Jesse, not yet. He prayed again. Anything coming out? Any changes? Said, no, Jesse, nothing. So he prayed again. By the end of the prayer, still nothing. No improvement, not even an ounce of improvement in my vision. And then after that, Jesse proceeded to tell me a story about his father and how his father had encountered a situation where he had gone through a health issue, but in the end, the Lord was faithful. He didn't heal him right away, but eventually he got his healing. And this was something that I often heard from big name preachers or healing evangelists over the years, was that when they would pray over you and nothing would happen, they would give you a story about how, I laid hands on this one man one time who couldn't hear and nothing happened in the meeting, but by the next morning, all of a sudden he could hear the TV again. So that what they would try to do is give you a little bit of encouragement because you didn't actually get your miracle, your healing right then and there, but they would try to give you the story. And looking back on this now, I mean, look, these are good actors, right? They can come up with a nice story to encourage you, send you on your way and then get you to donate to their ministry at the same time. They're very good. They're very, very good. So, yeah, no healing with the great Jesse Duplantis. Had lunch with the guy, but, he was nice to me. I'm not going to say the guy was mean. He didn't, it wasn't anything like that. I mean, you can tell. See, he was very charismatic. Very charismatic. And I couldn't wait. Get a picture with this guy, put it up on social media. So that was 14 years ago. Somewhere around there. I'm in a different place now. I ended up going completely blind. And all of the big, because you guys understand, I hope you don't mind me talking about this. And we're going to get to everything, trust me. But I believe this is, I share this with you because these are my experiences, which has all led me to where I'm at right now and doing what I'm doing today. I used to chase the miracle services. I can remember when I started, because I was at a certain level with my vision for a long time. And doctors were like, look, we can't restore your vision, but we can prevent you from losing any more. So I was actually never supposed to go fully blind. We were doing everything in our power. The eye pressures were good. Everything was good. But then things took a dramatic turn for the worse in early 2018. And I already had such little vision in my right eye to begin with. And remember, I was still blind in my left eye. For those that don't know, I went completely blind in my left eye in a matter of 2 weeks. Back in the fall of 2010. This is when this all happened to me. I lived the majority of my life with sight, with physical sight. So when early 2018 came and I started losing more vision in my right eye, it was only a matter of about 4 more months. By about May of 2018, I had gone fully blind. But in the months prior to that, I was trying to look up every single miracle and healing service that was going on in my area because this is what I grew up in. Go to the healing services, you're going to get right. People get healed, right? I mean, you guys know, those of you that grew up in the charismatic churches, the Word of Faith, you got the healing revivals and all of that, the crusades. You see the people that had issues, they were in wheelchairs, they'd get up and they'd run around the church, right? Afterwards, crutches falling to the ground. Eyes of the blind being open, people being able to hear, all these things, right? All these miracles, except every time I went to him, nothing ever happened to me. I went to a Billy Burke healing convention in Rancho Cucamonga, California back in July of 2018. It was a last minute thing. Didn't plan to go there, but I was told, hey, Billy Burke's going to come. Oh, there's some people get healed at his thing. So I went to that. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. I went up on 2 separate occasions with Billy Burke. And the first time prayed over me, put his thumbs over my eyes, nothing happened. There was apparently this other girl that was there and she was blind, but she did get her sight back. I come back to the healing night the next night and I go up there and Billy was like, I could tell that, when you were here, like you were a little frustrated. I don't know why I'm doing my Jesse voice again. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it seems like I'm the only one in your building that's not getting healed. And, he prayed again and nothing happened. So, guys, I have had all the big names pray over me and nothing has happened. Okay? So don't put all your stock in them because they are a big name. I have experienced the Lord's physical healing in many other ways in my life. And a lot of that came by just me praying. Who am I? I'm just not by sight, right? Why has he not restored my physical sight yet? I don't know. But you know what? I've started worrying about it less and less. Do I still want it back? Of course. It'd be great. It'd be great to drive again. It'd be great to do all the things, play some tennis again, and go out and bowl. I used to be in bowling leagues. I mean, I've done some things in my life. It'd be great to do that again. I don't know if I'll do it again this side of heaven or not. I used to worry about it a lot more. I don't worry about it as much anymore. Because now I have the spiritual sight that I lacked so much of before. And now I believe I am where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So I hope you didn't mind me sharing that with you, because I believe it's important to show you where I've come from to where I'm at now today. And now I want to get into what Jesse had to say in this video. Jesse Duplantis says that the Lord has now called him to speak. You know, we see this a lot, you know, with these pastors saying that, you know, they're not going to say anything until the Lord tells me to. Well, Jesse felt this was the right thing to do. And he said in this video, and it's out there, you guys can find it now. He says that, you know, the Lord, he told me it's time to let y'all know we're no longer going to be on Daystar. We're not on Daystar anymore, he said. He talked about how the contract ran up. He said, I think, you know, he had Kathy, his wife Kathy, on with him. He was like, well, I think Kathy, it ran up like December 21st, December 22nd, somewhere around there. Somewhere December 21st, 22nd, I don't even know, somewhere around there. So he said that his decision to leave Daystar has nothing, now, pick up on that, okay? Nothing to do with all of this mess that's going on at Daystar. This would include Jonathan and Susie's daughter. This would include the controversy around Joni and Doug's marriage. This would include Jimmy Evans and the spiritual manipulation of the voice of God and everything else we've been talking about since the end of November. Nothing to do with any of it, Jesse said. Jesse said, you know, I love Joni. I love Doug. He called him Doug Weiss at one point. He goes, Doug Weiss, Doug Weiss. I don't know how to pronounce it, because I met the guy in Colorado at one point. He didn't seem like a nice guy. Nice guy? Do these people have any discernment whatsoever? They have none. A nice guy. Jesse loved everybody. So he's like, I love Joni, my friend. Doug, my friend. Jonathan, he's a good young man. Jonathan, my friend. Susie, I love Susie. I love their daughter. He just loves everyone, does Jesse. Right? I know Joni a long time. Joni good. Joni good. Doug good. Right? We all good. We all good here in the hood. Like, come on. He did. It wasn't like he completely ignored it. He did address what's been going on, and he did talk about, you know, there's something about a little that has been mistreated. That's the word I use, you know, when we're talking about this, and you guys know what I'm referring to. Well, I don't really know, you know, there's accusations going on and this and that, so I'm not going to make a comment about that. You know, that's the Lord. The Lord is going to bring his judgment and his time. That's not for me. So here we go again, right? Here we go again. That's not for me to get involved in, Jesse said. You coward. You coward. You had an opportunity. Now, all these people say, I don't want to hear this mess about how God told me this and God told me that. God ain't tell you squat. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe God is telling you something, you just don't want to say it. Right? Maybe that's what it really is. Because Jesse Duplantis can sit here and tell you about how he went to heaven and Jesus was crying because you people out there won't give enough to his ministry. We're supposed to believe that. But, you know, we're also at the same time supposed to believe that God will not instruct one of the most well-known names in all of Christianity to speak out against this evil. Coward. He said, Joni, my friend. Joni, my friend. Joni, my friend. Doug, my friend. Jonathan, my friend. He good young man. You could have called out this wickedness and you chose not to. You sit there and talk about contracts and how the Lord gave you this back in, Kathy talked about it, she said back in September of 2024, back in September, that we were going to come off a Daystar. And he says that he's using John 15:2 as his reasoning, talking about, the pruning. And, sometimes we have to leave, in order to grow more. And we just didn't feel like we were getting at it. It was time. He talked about leaving TBN. I know I'm going in and out of the Jesse voice. Like, he goes, I left TBN. Where are my partners? They call them the partners, right? And he says, I asked the Lord, what about my partners? My partners, and the Lord told me they're gonna follow you. And he said that, I haven't lost, I've gained more. And the same thing with Daystar. We're not on there no more. But, the partners will follow us. We're going to increase our presence on social media. So we're going to do more over there. And the partners are going to follow us. And then he said that if the Lord told him to go back to Daystar, then he'll go back. We'll go right back over there. Well, I'm sure you will, right? If they offer you more money, you probably go back in a second. But you see, they won't say what really needs to be said. They don't want to ruffle the feathers. To say that, I know Joni. I know. Do you? All these big televangelists, they're discernment, right? They go, Jesse takes a trip to heaven every other day, right? He just meets with Jesus. They sit up there, Jesus is still crying, right? We got to give him the tissues because you guys won't donate to Jesse. JDM, you got to give him another jet, right? Poor Jesus up there crying in heaven. So, he wants to come back. I mean, Jesus wants to return. Are you kidding? It's all of our problems. When you're very specific like that, saying that you're coming off a network, but it has nothing to do, nothing. He could have said, one aspect of this story. Because there's so many, right? There's so many layers to this. Has nothing to do with anything going on at the network. And he even goes on, he couldn't help himself. He had to bring up his wealth again. I'm a very blessed man. I'm a very wealthy man. I know there's a lot of people that don't like to hear me talk about that. I get a lot of pushback on that. But look, I just have to shut that down. The Lord wants me blessed. The Lord wants me blessed. Hallelujah. These people are wicked. They're wicked. But look, for so many, this is what they waited for, right? They were waiting on the big names to come out. I said it. I was trying to warn people. I was like, they may not say what you want them to. They may not say what they want you to. Or what you want them to. So don't put Jesse Duplantis up on this pedestal. Oh, he did the right thing. He was blatantly honest in this video. And he's like, we just didn't renew the contract. We had a contract to fulfill, so that's what he's going to tell you. God gave me the vision in September to come off a Daystar. We simply, we couldn't leave right away. We had to wait until the contract was up at the end of December. He's like I said, the 21st, the 22nd of December, whatever it was. We're not on there no more. We had to let the partners know. Joni, my friend, Doug, my friend, Jonathan, he good man. He talked about how he's been around them all since they were, growing up. I've known Jonathan ever since he was a little one. I know him. A lot of people have been saying that, haven't they? I remember Jonathan, Steve Wilhite, the horrible video that he put out. Tom Callender. Remember Tom Callender? Jonathan, I held you in my arms, Jonathan, when you was just a little baby. I held you, Jonathan. And I love you, Jonathan. And to see how rebellious you become, son, it hurts me. It hurts me, Jonathan. Steve Wilhite talking about Jonathan in the little red wagon with his own daughter. When he was, what did he say? I've known Jonathan since he was 5 years old. He's 39 now. Oh my God. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Jesse could have gotten himself, I don't even want to say respect, in ways he could have righted a lot of wrongs if he would have come out. Now, he did talk about if a little is mistreated, that is satanic. And it is. That part is true. But he was just speaking more in general terms here. There was no rebuke given to Daystar whatsoever for this. This was a weak exit, I'm calling it, from Daystar. Weak. These men don't care. I was going to leave it. I was leaving anyway. So I just thought I'd tell you all. You know, we were already going to be going off of Daystar before all this stuff started. Sure. They won't take a stand for righteousness. They won't take a stand for truth. Isn't it so funny? You know, this just came to me. Isn't it funny that they only seem to hear from the Lord when it comes to money? You know, like with speaking out. When it comes to them needing more money for their ministries. But when it comes to major flaws in the church like this, God tells them to be silent. Isn't it interesting? People like me, not by sight. I'm a small platform. Okay, I'm never going to be no bigwig out there. That's fine. But no, we talk about it. God's always, that's not your business, Jesse. That's not your business. I'll take care of that. But please keep telling the people about they need to donate more to you. You got to stop falling for this mess. You got to stop falling for this. There's been some, and I haven't even talked about it because I have yet to see an official statement, but Jack Graham from Prestonwood Baptist Church. I mean, Prestonwood, don't let me get started on Prestonwood. I've talked about them before. But people have been talking about how his show is, all of a sudden now it's disappeared from Daystar's calendar, so that's probably an indication that he's leaving as well. But nothing official. Like, I mean, maybe by now it's out there. But some people were wanting me to comment on that. I said I really didn't do a video about it because I didn't see anything official from Jack Graham or from Prestonwood. It was all based off of comments and some other video from somebody that allegedly works for Prestonwood, and so, you know, a quiet exit maybe, okay. The only harsh rebukes, the only people to have left Daystar with some actual integrity and giving you a solid reason for their departures have been Laura-Lynn Tyler Thompson and Love Israel, where they cite the specific reasons for why they're leaving. Unlike Jesse Duplantis, who won't touch that. No, Love Israel. What do? They talked about marriage. They talked about the morality here, what's going on with Jonathan and Susie's daughter. All these things. Laura-Lynn, same thing. Jesse Duplantis would not do that. And I want to get your thoughts on that. You can let me know in the comments section. Let me move on now to this Canadian board member, Phil Nordine. Phil Nordine. I believe that's his name. I might be pronouncing it wrong. If I am, I apologize. This guy put out a statement about everything going on right now at Daystar. And, you know, you have to wonder, you know, the PR behind this and the words that were being used are just something else. This was discussed on a Laura-Lynn Tyler Thompson's show. She had on Pastor Ray. I really like Pastor Ray. I think he's cool. I enjoy what he says. And they were breaking down this statement. Now, I want to point out to you again that it was put together with an AI voice reading it. So this wasn't Dr. Phil coming out with his own video talking about all of this. No, it was just this, I'll put together this statement and then use an AI voice to read it out. Dr. Phil apparently doesn't appreciate Christian bloggers, so he wouldn't like me. Let's just face it. He's not going to like me at all. Based off what he said. I'm going to kind of skip around here and bring up a couple points. Oh, guys, Lord help me. You guys enjoying your snack, your coffee, whatever you're drinking, snacking on right now? He said, if I could have the opportunity to speak to the Christian bloggers out there who are talking about this, he said this, to get off of the let's expose our brother bandwagon. Let's expose our brother bandwagon. That's a new one. What do you guys think about that one? And that your enemy is not the pastor in the big ministry with the Rolex watch and all that. See, no. Dr. Phil's saying you got to ignore all that, because what does that even matter if we lose our religious freedom? So what he did was he tied it in to religious freedom and religious liberty. Saying, no, they're not your enemy. We have to keep our eyes on things that are going on in the government because, well, who cares about the pastor with the nice watch or the nice car, the fancy homes, if they're just going to be shutting down our churches and taking our voices away from us anyway? We have to go against them. But wait a minute, doesn't the Bible say something about how judgment starts first in the house of God? Then he goes after the world. So we have to get our own house in order, which is in shambles right now. But this is a very carefully crafted statement by Mr. Phil Nordine to turn this around altogether. No, guys, you got the wrong. Don't come after Daystar. No. You got to look at the real enemy here. It's not us. We're not doing anything wrong. It's the government. They're trying to take away our religious liberty and our religious freedom. These people. Another thing that he said, and this right here was probably, it should probably tell you everything. I guess what I'm trying to say is it sums up this whole thing. He talked about when Jonathan and Susie, when he first saw that Jonathan and Susie had gone public with their story, he found it extremely disheartening. How could somebody who sits on a board, remember, a board is supposed to bring accountability to, the people at the top, whether it's in the secular world or the Christian. So you would think that as somebody who is sitting on a board, they would hear the concerns of not just anybody. Jonathan wasn't just anybody, right? He was a vice president. He was on the board for Daystar in America. But no, that's not what Dr. Phil said. No, Dr. Phil was disheartened. Disheartened. What a word to use. What a word to use when talking about a little who was allegedly mistreated by a family member named Pete. You should be disheartened for what happened to her. But no, Phil Nordine, Dr. Phil was disheartened over the fact that they made it public. But Dr. Phil, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure that Jonathan and Susie did everything in their power to handle this behind the scenes with Joni and with the other members of the board and with the family. But that didn't work, did it? Why are you not disheartened by the way this whole thing has been handled? Why are you not disheartened by the actions of your fearless leader? But there was nothing mentioned in that anywhere in his statement. He goes on to talk about the notoriety of Daystar and how and he called us media wolves. That was the other new, I guess, insult that was put out here. It's the media wolves that are going after Daystar and our notoriety because we have such a presence. And look at us, we're a $1 billion empire. We have notoriety. How dare you come against us? This is also what we have heard from Joni, from Steve Wilhite, talking about how Jimmy Evans, we have all this experience in ministry. 30 plus years, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years experience in ministry. What do you have, Jonathan? What do you have, Susie? You don't have a degree. You don't have this. You don't have that. You've never preached a message. How dare you tell me that I can't be married to this person? Right? They go to their credentials because it's so important. What do your credentials matter? When you go before, because the Bible say that many are going to come to me on that day saying, Lord, I did this, I did that, I cast out demons for you, I did this. And he's going to say, depart from me, I never knew you. I don't know why I'm singing that. They like to flaunt their credentials. So we are the media wolves, right? The other phrase that was used in this statement, and it's out there too, you guys can listen to the whole thing. Unsolicited judgments that are being made against Daystar. Unsolicited. They're very good, right, with how they come up with these things. Unsolicited judgments being made against the Daystar network by us media wolves. And how all we care about is simply trying to take down our fellow brother. Let me be perfectly clear with Mr. Dr. Phil Nordine here, okay? I do not call somebody my brother who is purposefully, hear me, purposefully participating in acts of darkness. You are not my brother in that instance. We are to expose evil as believers. Also, there was attention put into the statement on how we have to look at the real enemy, which is apparently us, the media wolves. Focus more on, again, your church being closed, your freedom being taken away from you. No scripture is being given in this statement by Dr. Phil about judgment starting in the house of God. No, look at our notoriety. We are Daystar. Who are you? The people that we, the Christian bloggers, speak to are uninformed on what is going on. So they're saying that we're basically manipulating them. They are so naive. All of you out there are so naive to what's going on. That it's us that are leading you down the wrong path. The fact that they had the nerve to call us media, we're the wolves apparently. No. See, this is called projection, ladies and gentlemen. At its finest. I mean, you cannot get a better example of projection than what we are looking at right here. From Dr. Phil. And again, look at the title, right? They're so proud of their titles, right? Oh, I'm a doctor. This Phil guy, he's also a pastor up in Canada as well. Here's another thing that he said, and this one got me too. So I was just going to talk about the Dr. Phil stuff, and then I got news about Jesse Duplantis, so I had to, that's why we're extending our show here today. That's all right, y'all having fun, right? You guys can let me know in the comment section. You guys are having fun with your snack, with your coffee, just listening to me. He said that he has handled a lot of different, as a pastor, he has handled many different crises in the church. And in all his years, here we go again, right? With all the years he's had in ministry, he has never once seen the benefit of social media playing a part in helping any of these situations out? Really? See, I think social media is playing a huge part in waking people up to the deception that's going on within the church right now. I can tell you firsthand, I have had people reach out to me that have watched videos that I have done, where I have exposed a pastor of a church that was doing some horrible things, and they'll write a comment and say, you know what? I was thinking about going to this church this week, and then I came across your video. And thanks to you, I'm not going to go there because I don't want to put my own littles in danger. But according to Dr. Phil, social media never helps this situations out at all. It never helps solve the problems going on in the church. Never. See, we're in a different time right now because for so long, the anointed one, the man of God behind the pulpit could control the narrative so easily because there was no social media. We didn't have a place to voice our concern. It was very easy to just trust what they said. And if any news came up in the church about some nefarious things going on, it would be quickly shut down. There was no, you could forget, even before like YouTube and Facebook, we had email before that, right? People could at least email each other, things were starting to bubble up, but we're in a whole new place right now. Accountability is coming to the house of God, and these people don't like it. They don't like it at all. I like what Pastor Ray said when he was on with Laura-Lynn. He talked about these are the old guard. And the old guard is quickly losing their grip on the Christian world that they've had for so long. They've become obsessed with power, with money, control. And they got away with it for a long time, but now no longer. The people are waking up. They're waking up now to what's going on. But the rebellion, the resistance that they continue to show is not going to work out well for them when it's all said and done. When God gets done with this exposure. They could have honestly handled this when the allegations first came out. Because I've said this from the very beginning. As I've covered a lot of big ministries that have had pastors that have fallen. You just look at with Robert Morris and Gateway. They brought in a third-party investigation. Heck, Robert Morris was, forced to resign. He was the head of that church. We're talking about here somebody in Pete, who we know works for Daystar. But why would they not get rid of him? We're not even talking about Joni. Joni could have stayed on. Joni could have been like, you know what? We're at least going to put you on a leave while we bring in a third party. She could have looked good in this whole thing. But they're not even doing that. They're not doing any of that. Again, even Gateway Church, even Gateway was, bringing in a third party, and they fired some pastors and elders that knew that Robert Morris was doing these things to Cindy when she was only 12. What is so different about Pete? I have never seen anything like this in another ministry. I cover a lot. And in a lot of churches, you see an allegation comes up, that pastor's on a leave of absence, right? Until they look into it. They're not doing ministry, nothing like that. That's not the case here with Daystar. This is outright rebellion from one of the largest Christian networks out there today. How much longer are they going to be able to go on with just business as usual? Business as usual, BAU, BA, whatever you want to call it. Will we see more Jesse Duplantis-like exits from some of these ministries? Or soft exits, like with Jack Graham? Will any of them have the boldness to come out and really say what needs to be said about Daystar? and not give an excuse that, well, like Jesse, right? Oh, the Lord told me back in September you're going to get off of Daystar. And Joni, my friend, and Doug, my friend, and Jonathan, my friend, they're all my friends. That's the problem. They want to be friends with everybody. They don't want to call out evil. The very fact that Jesse said, I'll leave the door open. If the Lord tell me when to come back to Daystar, I'll come back. I'll go right back there. You would. Birds of a feather. What do you guys think? Sound off down below in the comments section. If you enjoy and appreciate the work of Not By Sight News, the fact that we do expose church corruption, we call out the wolves in the pulpit and protect the vulnerable, and if you want to see it continue, would you consider making a generous donation to support and fund the work that we are doing here, especially as I've shared with you all the last several months the multiple health issues that my wife has gone through, including suffering a stroke, being diagnosed with a clotting disorder, and also a lupus diagnosis that leaves her in a lot of pain, and right now has caused her to not be able to work. Because of that, I'm having to deal with these stacking medical bills and other bills piling up, and I'll just be honest with you all, it just won't be sustainable for me long term to be able to continue running Not By Sight News if I'm only relying on the ad revenue from these videos, which really is not much. Even if these videos manage to get to 1,000 views or so, you get like $2 from that. So if you feel led by the Lord to help us out, you just appreciate the good work that we're doing here, there are multiple ways that you can contribute. Now, one of those is by going over to our GoFundMe. We created a GoFundMe to help out. The link to that is in the description of this video and all videos. You can also become a monthly contributor by joining our Patreon for as little as $5 a month at patreon.com/notbysightnews. That link also in the description. And then finally, you can just hit the super thanks button on the YT video here. Although I will tell you that if you choose that option, YT does take 30% for themselves. So if you do want to make sure that we get the majority of your generous gift, then GoFundMe or Patreon will be your best options. And we, again, thank you all so much for the support. We cannot do this without you. What I want to do right now, something I do on all these videos, and that's end this video on hope. It's part of my ministry outreach. This is an altar call. I've been doing this on my videos since 2016. No matter what it is that I'm discussing in the church, exposing the corruption of the wolves that occupy its pulpits. Again, we always want to make sure people receive Christ as Savior. That being said, anybody watching now, if you are somebody who has not yet accepted Jesus Christ into your life and you would like to do so, I want to lead you in a prayer to do that right now. This is a prayer you could do in your own words, but I will give you the steps you need to bring it before the Lord today. First thing you want to do right off the top, acknowledge you are a sinner. That is something that we all are. The good news is that God gave his only Son, Jesus Christ, to die on that cross for the sins of all the world. As he died and rose again for you and me, he paid the cost. What you have to do is repent of your sin. That means to turn from sin, not just to say you're sorry and then jump back to your old ways, but to actually turn from sin, which are those lifestyles, patterns, habits, behaviors, things in your life that go against the Word of God. If you humbly go before the Lord, though, and ask him to forgive you, he'll wipe your sin away. The Bible says he doesn't remember it any longer. And then you invite Jesus into your life to be your Lord and Savior. When you do that, you become born again, a child of God. You will have eternal life. Trust me when I tell you there is no greater decision that you will ever make than the one you do to give your life to Christ. And I pray you make that decision today. Again, more info down below. Thank you all again so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll be back with more. You guys take care. Please be safe out there. God bless each and every single one of you. And I'll talk with you soon.